Texas gubernatorial candidate Beto O'Rourke held a campaign event at Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, Texas on Friday. In wide-ranging remarks, he slammed his opponent Greg Abbott as the, quote, worst governor in the United States of America today, and specifically criticized his abortion ban. Abortion access has been central to O'Rourke's campaign since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in June, sending the issue of abortion to the states. O'Rourke is running against incumbent Greg Abbott, who is vying for a third term as governor and has maintained a consistent lead over the Democrat.
Hey y'all! How are y'all doing today? Good. I would like to first say that I am so excited to be here today, and I'm even more excited that you all decided to come. I believe that voting is one of the most powerful civic duties that we hold as students. So powerful that they don't want us to vote. Yeah. They put the polling locations 5 miles from campus so we can't reach it. Half of the population that can vote are currently incarcerated. We need to vote, y'all, and I'm tired. I'm tired of our kids going to school scared. I'm tired of people who feel emboldened by our government to commit hate crimes in the places that we're supposed to feel safe. We need real leadership. We need real change. We need Beto. I believe in the people that will continue to fight for a safe and equitable future for the future generations to come. I believe that we need to vote for a change, and because we have the power to amplify our vote this election. So who's ready for change? Who's ready for Beto? And don't forget that there are so many opportunities for you to get registered, so make sure you take advantage of that, y'all. Okay, thank you.
I'm a senior here at SHSU, and I'm also a student fellow for Students for Beto, and I'm so honored and excited to be here today and hear from our future governor of Texas, Mr. Beto O'Rourke. I am proud to be advocating for a governor who will ensure that women have control over their own bodies. I'm proud to be voting for a governor who will ensure that children can go to school safe without being gunned down by military weapons, because it couldn't have been worse. I'm grateful to be voting for someone who believes in giving Texans a living wage, because we can't survive off the minimum anymore. I am happy to vote for someone who will legalize marijuana and expunge the records of people who can't smoke. And finally, I'm proud to vote for someone who will invest in the LGBTQI community and give rights. We as college students, as young adults, as citizens of Texas, we need to use our voice and our vote to elect someone who cares, who will do the work, and will put actions behind their words. Beto is the future of Texas, and Beto will turn Texas blue. And with that, I am honored to introduce our future governor of Texas, Mr. Beto O'Rourke.
Bearcats, buenos dias. ¿Cómo estamos? Let's do this. Micaiah and Summer, Micaiah and Summer, whatever you're doing next, I am behind you 100%. Whatever office you run for, I'm on your team, knocking on doors. When you run for governor or president or whatever is in your future, I just can't wait for it. Thank you for getting us kicked off today, bringing all these great people out. I told distinguished alum Bill Baldwin, who's sitting right here, Bill, We want to come out to Huntsville. We want to come out to Sam Houston, but we are late in the game. We've only got 72 hours to set this event up. Will anybody even come out? And Bill said, do not sleep on these Bearcats. You show up, they're going to be here, and you're absolutely right. How's everybody feeling? We good? Yes. Tell you what, despite some of the challenges that we just heard about right now, probably the most important of which being that this state, our current governor and government, on purpose tries to make it very hard for you to have your voice heard and your vote counted, to even get on the rolls in the state of Texas, much less make it to an early voting location. I've got some news for you and some news for the current governor. On the night of November 8th, we're going to win this election, and we're going to do it together. And here's how I know we're going to win. Because we're fighting for every woman to make her own decisions about her own body, her own future, and her own health care. We prioritize the lives of our children ahead of the interests of the NRA, any special interest, any politician, and definitely Greg Abbott, our school teachers, our educators, our counselors, our librarians. Look, I want you to know that we've got your back, and I understand that you're underpaid by $7,500 on average in this state against the national average. You're working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. You've got a governor who wants to scare us about our own stories and history and lives and families and ancestors through this thing they made up called CRT that may be taught in a graduate level course, but I promise you is not discussed in 1st or 2nd grade. They try to ask you to turn in the parents of the transgender child, accusing them of abuse, to turn them over to the worst run foster care program in America, CPS in the state of Texas. So look, when we win, not only are we paying you enough so that you just work 1 job instead of 2 or 3, we're also going to allow you to connect with those kids in front of you by canceling the STAR test in the state of Texas. You can actually get the job done. We're going to be there for those who have served or want to serve this country in uniform. As you know, the United States of America will spare no expense in enlisting you and sending you off to war. But as too many have lived and understand, when you come back, it's a little bit harder to get that help and that care that you need and that we as a country promised you. So here's what I propose in Texas. Though we are the 9th largest economy on the planet today at $2 trillion gross domestic product, tonight there will be veterans sleeping on the side of the road, on park benches, underneath bridges in this great state. We will spare no expense to make sure that every veteran has a home, that we connect them with the health care that might save their lives, that we stand up a toxic burn pit registry for those who breathe this stuff in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and wherever they've been. And for those veterans, some of you among us right now, who've told me that when you go to the VA, they are all too quick to prescribe an opioid to which you may become addicted and from which you may die, but there's this other substance that if you use, relieves your symptoms, allows you to sleep, restores your appetite, but to use it today in Texas makes you a criminal in the eyes of the law. I want to tell you loud and clear, we are legalizing marijuana in the state of Texas going forward. We're going to make sure that you can use it and get better. And we are also aware of this. Though Texans of all races and ethnicities use marijuana at the same rate, disproportionately, it is black and brown Texans who are stopped, who are frisked, who are arrested, who upon release have to check a box on every damn employment application form saying that they have that conviction, making it less likely that they get the job, qualify for the loan, are able to attend higher education. So in addition to legalizing, we will expunge the records of anyone who has served time for possession of this substance. And when it comes to this democracy, not only must we win by reaching out to our fellow students, our friends, our family members, making sure that in our own words, from our own heart, we describe the stakes of this election and bring each and every single one of us in. But when we do win, we got to make sure that we restore the right to vote where it is attacked more than it is anywhere else in America today. That means that we should have something like online voter registration or automatic voter registration so that when you turn 18, you're automatically on the rolls. The gerrymander that we have in Texas where members of Congress choose their voters instead of the other way around, let's replace that with citizen-led commissions that redistrict this state based on who we really are instead of the interests of those already in power. And then let me lay this one on you. What if we replaced Confederate Heroes Day as a state holiday with Election Day as a state holiday so you can take the day off of school, the day off of work, and actually get this done? Look, for all those reasons, and these are issues that bring together Republicans, Democrats, independents, Texans of all stripes. I mean, making sure that we have world-class education, that we go from dead last in the nation to access to mental health care by expanding Medicaid and getting to number one before too long, making sure that we treat every single one of us equally under the law. Who can be against that right now? This is a campaign by and for every single one of us in the state of Texas. But if that weren't enough, I also know that we're going to win because we are running against the worst governor in the United States of America today. Let me give it to you by the numbers. Let me give it to you by the numbers when it comes to Greg Abbott. 1 month ago, the most extreme abortion ban in America that he signed into law went into effect. And it begins at conception. There's no exception for rape. There's no exception for incest. And it happens in a state that is at the epicenter of a maternal mortality crisis that is 3 times as deadly for black women in the state of Texas right now. Now, you may say, hey, Beto, this is a very conservative, very red state. How in the world are we ever going to overcome this? Well, I tell you what, I don't know how red or blue we are for that matter. We're more non-voting than we are anything else. If people turn out, if you are willing to do the work and be a part of this campaign and reach out to those who've been drawn out of this democracy and the right to vote, I think we might have a chance. And listen, not only do I believe and know that we can overcome this, we've overcome this before against much longer odds. 50 years ago, abortion was just as illegal in the state of Texas as it is today. But no one from outside came and rode to the rescue of Texas women. In fact, it was Texas women themselves, Jane Roe, her 2 attorneys, Linda Coffey and Sarah Weddington, who prevailed upon an all-male United States Supreme Court to win protection for the right to privacy, for women to be able to make their own very personal and sometimes very painful decisions without any government intrusion. They fought for and won freedom for women all across this country. And here's my belief. If the Texas women were able to do that back in 1972 and 73, then it will be Texas women who lead the way in winning it back in 2022. We're going to do this. Another number for you. 19 weeks ago, 19 kids and their 2 teachers were taken from us in Uvalde, Texas. Those children, 10 and 11 years old, absolutely defenseless against someone who had legally purchased not 1, but 2 AR-15s, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, a weapon originally designed for use in war and combat in Vietnam, to take down an enemy soldier at 500 yards, to penetrate a steel helmet and take him down dead. Those kids, not at 500 yards, maybe 5 feet at best, nothing on their head, but maybe a baseball cap. Their parents unable to identify their bodies except for the shoes that were on their feet. Those kids defenseless against that, defenseless against a governor who will not lift a finger to make it any less likely that any other child, including your younger brothers and sisters, will not meet that same fate in another classroom, in another community, somewhere else in Texas today. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for kids and teenagers in the state of Texas. 5 of the worst mass shootings in U.S. history, right here in Texas over the last 5 years on this guy's watch. And it's not as though the answers are not in front of us. And look, I don't pretend that this is easy, but I've traveled this state. I've gone to the most rural communities, the biggest cities, listening to gun owners, Republicans, Democrats, really just everyone on this. And here's where I see the common ground, where we can come together and make progress. At a minimum, let us raise the age of purchase for an AR-15 from 18 to 21. Let's buy 3 more years for some kind of intervention. Let's have a red flag law so that if you have that firearm and are threatening to use it against yourself or someone in your school, law enforcement through due process can intervene before it's too late. And then this, it makes all the common sense in the world. A universal background check. If you buy from a gun shop today, that gun store owner has to do a background check on you to make sure that you're not going to use that firearm against yourself or someone in your family or someone in our lives, right? But if you buy from a private seller in the state of Texas, you can buy that same gun, no questions asked. That's exactly what happened in Midland, Odessa in 2019. A guy rejected from being able to purchase an AR-15 from a gun store, bought the same thing out of somebody's trunk, used it to kill 8 people in that community. A universal background check would have saved lives in that instance and in so many other cases across the state. Look, we've got this long, proud tradition of responsible gun ownership in the state of Texas. All I ask is that we get back to it. This idea of permitless carry, where anyone can carry a firearm on our streets without a background check, without any vetting, without any training in the proficiency to use that firearm in the first place. We now have more school shootings than any other state in the union. More police officers have been gunned down in this state than in any other. That's why they begged the governor not to sign permitless carry in the first place. We're gonna get back to common sense and common ground. We're gonna defend the Second Amendment while better protecting the lives of those in our communities, in our schools, and in our homes. Here's another number for you. It was 18 months ago that the temperature dropped right here in the state of Texas. And in the energy capital of the world, the guy in power couldn't keep the power going for the people that he was supposed to serve. While you were shivering in your homes or in your dorm rooms, as were millions of others across the state of Texas, this guy ordered the price of electricity pegged at its highest allowable rate, not for minutes or hours, but for days. Gas soon started trading at 200 times. Here he goes again, turning off the lights on the people of Texas. Can you believe it? While he's doing this, his top campaign contributors, these energy traders and pipeline CEOs and their corporations make $11 billion in profit over 5 days. It is the largest transfer of wealth in state history. And by my reading of the state code, it's also illegal. You're not supposed to price gouge your fellow Texans in a time of declared disaster or emergency. 700 and counting of our fellow Texans lost their lives over those 5 days. They froze to death in their homes not too far from here in Conroe. An 11-year-old boy whose mom could not pile enough blankets upon his shivering body, dead the next morning. In another community, a 75-year-old Vietnam-era veteran. I mean, this guy at 17 or 18 put his life on the line for all of us, came back to this country, raised his family, worked his job, could not charge his oxygen tank last February in his home. So he takes it out to his truck where they find him dead of hypothermia. Kids who burned up with their parents because they set fire to their furniture, trying to keep themselves warm. That fire gets out of control. And others who died of carbon monoxide poisoning in their garages, running the engines of their trucks. 700 times over. And to add insult to injury, that grid is still not fixed. We're no better prepared for this winter than we were for the last. And each of us now paying $45 more in utility bills because we got caught left holding the bag. Here's the answer to that. We win this election. We weatherize and winterize every part of the grid. We connect ERCOT to the national grid so we can pull down power when we need it, sell it back up when we have a surplus. And for those who stole that $11 billion from us, we take those bastards to court and get every penny back for the people of Texas. Lower your rates in the process. This is the last number that I want to give you, and it is the number 8. That's how long Greg Abbott has served in office. So whatever he tries to deflect or blame someone else about, just remember, this guy has been in the highest position of public trust in Texas. Every other statewide official is of his same party. The majority in the state house, state senate, his same party as well. In fact, they have been in control of this state for 25 years. So when he talks about inflation, this is on his watch. It's not just our utility bills. It's not just our property taxes up $20 billion. It's every aspect of life. We're now paying more in taxes here than our fellow Americans are in California. When he tries to scare you about this person or that person, just remember he's doing that because he does not have a record to run on or a vision to offer us. One of these things he's going to try to scare us about is crime. And look, I get it. Crime is on the rise in the state of Texas right now. And if there is a purpose for government, it is to keep us safe and secure in our schools, in our homes, and in our communities. But why is crime going up? Let me explain. Homicides on his watch up 50%. When he ignores police officers and sheriff's deputies who beg him not to sign permitless carry into law, we now understand why that is happening. The governor who, upon signing that abortion ban, the most extreme in America, and is asked by a reporter, Mr. Governor, you realize there's no exception for rape in this bill. What are you going to do for rape victims? His response, we will eliminate rape in the state of Texas. Not only has he not done that, more rapes have been committed in this state than in any other state in America. The ability to bring a perpetrator to justice has declined by half on his watch. There are thousands of untested rape kits at DPS headquarters in Austin, Texas right now. Listen, this isn't about life or about heartbeats. This is about control and power over women in this state. If he cared about them, he would do something about the rapes that are being committed right now. The other thing he's going to try to do is to scare us about defunding the police. So let us be very clear about this. We believe that we should fully fund law enforcement. They have one of the most important jobs that we can imagine. In fact, they risk their lives to protect those that they serve and were sworn to protect. We also believe that that funding should include training to make sure that each of us is treated equally under the law, regardless of the differences, including skin color, that may exist between us. And when anyone, and this is in the minority of those who take on these positions of public trust, abuses that power, especially that life and death power over us. And we remember Sandra Bland and Tatiana Jefferson and Botham Jean and far too many black Texans unarmed who've lost their lives while in custody or in confrontation with the police officer. There must be accountability. There must be justice, because without it, it worsens and degrades trust in our communities. People no longer report crimes, testify in trials, serve as witnesses. We have to rebuild that trust with police. We do that by fully funding, training, and holding those in these positions fully accountable for the work that they do. We are going to make sure that we get a handle on violent crime in Texas and bring it down once we win this election. The last thing, por último. You ask this governor why the grid doesn't work, and he'll try to make you scared of transgender kids. You ask him why teachers are leaving the profession by the thousands, and he'll bring up CRT. But the thing that he'll deflect to the most in an effort to distract us from the solutions that we need is the border and the people that he tells us are invading this country to come and get us. The Mexicans, the Hondurans, the Haitians. The lieutenant governor, when there were 14,000 Haitians who had not just traveled from that island, but had traveled the length of this continent from Brazil, where they were working temporarily. 14,000 refugees, scared human beings. They are just like us, right? When they're under that bridge, the lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick, goes on Fox News and he says, you know what? We let these people into this country, pretty soon they're going to start having kids. Those kids will grow up, they'll start to vote, and they will replace us. This replacement theory that is being trafficked by white supremacists like those who are in power today, that's what drives the shooting in Buffalo, New York. That's what happened in my hometown of El Paso, Texas. On the 3rd of August, 2019, someone who had heard the former president talk about invasions and infestations and human beings described as animals, someone who heard our current governor say things like, Texans, it's time that we defend ourselves and take matters into our own hands. That's a direct quote from Greg Abbott. Purchases an AK-47, drives it 650 miles from Allen, Texas to my hometown, which, by the way, El Paso, Texas, one of, if not the safest cities in America, not despite the fact that we're a city of immigrants, but because we are a city of immigrants. He posts, when he gets to El Paso, he posts online on social media that he has come to my hometown to repel that invasion of Hispanics who are going to take over and replace him as a white man right here in the state of Texas. Walks into that Walmart with a weapon of war in a community that doesn't lose more than 20 people to murder in many years. 23 people are killed in a matter of minutes. He shot and killed anyone who looked Mexican to him, who looked like an immigrant to him right now. Not only are these stunts from our governor and this hateful rhetoric that he traffics in not part of the solution that we desperately need, it is claiming the lives of our fellow Texans, our fellow Americans, our fellow human beings right now. And I know that we are so much better than this. I also know, look, we have serious challenges at our border. The fact that tens of thousands of people are coming into this country in between ports of entry, with none of us the wiser for who it is that's coming here and why they are arriving. That's not going to work. We need to follow the law. We are a nation of laws. We think this, look, you want to come to America? Follow our law. On our end, we're going to make sure that our laws follow our values, our interests, and our economic needs. If you come here to work, we want to make sure that there's a Texas-based guest worker program so that there's a safe, legal, orderly path for you to be here. If you want to join family and you realize that the wait time to do this the right way, if you're coming from Mexico, might be 20 years. Same for the Philippines or India. And look, nothing condones anybody breaking the law. I want to make that clear, but I also understand how you might want to jump that line if it's 2 decades that you got to wait to see your family. And then this on these asylum seekers. Look, I had the very great honor of serving with John Lewis for 6 years in Congress. And he used to say something to the effect of, look, at some time, we or our families or our forebears or grandmothers and grandfathers, we all came here to this country in a different ship. But today, we're in the same boat. And it's a reminder that whether your ancestors came here 15,000 years ago, crossed the land bridge in the Bering Strait, settled where we are today, a reminder that we are standing and sitting on indigenous land in the state of Texas right now. Whether your ancestors were kidnapped from the continent of Africa, brought here in bondage, and literally forced to build this country, its success and its wealth, without ever partaking in it. Or whether your ancestors were like mine, the O'Rourkes from Ireland, who knew that in the 19th century, to stay on that island meant to die there. There was a famine that claimed the lives of more than 1 million people, and they came to the one place on the planet that would take them in. Those who are coming to this country right now, by and large, are part of that same tradition. You all read about or saw the story on the 53 migrants and asylum seekers who died in the back of a container truck in San Antonio, Texas this year. Now, we have this extraordinary power as human beings of empathy. We can think about what it would be like to be that person, and I ask you to do that, to think about what would cause you to get into the back of that truck. You probably can't do it on your own. Someone's got to lift you up, or there's a step stool. It's a conscious decision that you're making. It's hot outside. It's even hotter inside of that truck. There is no air conditioning. Now, think about the fact that you're now in that truck, and you brought your 11-year-old daughter with you 2,000 miles, the length of this continent. You're finally in the United States of America, your destination, and you must now reach down from the back of that truck, grab her hand, and pull her up inside. You don't do this for kicks. You don't do it to steal someone's job. You don't do it to come here to commit crimes. You do it because you believe it's probably the only chance you have to save her life. The fact that we're talking about these human beings as animals, as an infestation, as an invasion, when all they are trying to do to survive, that is not who we are. That may be Greg Abbott. That is not the people of Texas. I want there to be, and we will do this when we win, a safe, legal, orderly path for those who want to come here, who can go nowhere else on this planet. We vet them, we do background checks, we make sure they are not going to pose a danger to us, and then we want them to be here to succeed, not only to do better for themselves, but to do better for all of us. There is no state that better understands this, that can lead on this, than the state of Texas. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get this done. Last thing that I want to say is this. We are pretty damn lucky to be alive and living in Texas right now, and I'll explain why. All these challenges that I just described, our generation is the one lucky enough to meet them and to overcome them. Very few American generations get this chance. Go back to 1776, and that generation that fought for freedom and democracy, although let's remember, democracy and the right to vote was reserved for white men who owned property at that time, and property could include fellow human beings. So fast forward to 1865, where that question is decided, at least in part, at that courthouse in Appomattox. Fast forward to the 1950s and the 1960s, civil rights and voting rights marchers literally willing to, and in too many cases, giving their lives to expand the franchise so that everyone in this nation could vote. And in fact, the first Texas president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, is the one who signs into law the Voting Rights Act of 1965, creating the first multiracial democracy in America. I say all of that not to give a lesson in history, but to remind us that we are the heirs to this struggle, to this service, and to this sacrifice. And what we do with this inheritance, that will determine our future and define us in the pages of history and in the eyes of our kids forever going forward. We cannot be found wanting. I'm going to ask you one last time, as you see these folks in the yellow reflective vests who are among us today, we have student fellows on this campus, other volunteers on these clipboards. They have opportunities for you to sign up and go meet the people who can decide the outcome of this election. And won't it be some pretty powerful, profound, poetic, political justice if the very people drawn out of this democracy are the ones that we bring in and they win this for us as the margin of victory on election night, November 8th, 2022. You all ready to do this? We're going to make history, we are going to change history, and we're doing it right here at Sam Houston. Let's go, Bearcats! Les agradezco, muchísimas gracias. Nos vemos la próxima vez. Here we go. Let's do it.
If y'all would like to stay and take a picture, we're going to open the curtains back over there. We would be very happy to do a quick selfie. I'm sorry, no selfies. We'll do a quick picture. Come on, start getting in line. The line is going to be on this side where Beto is exiting.
Left side.